What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Danny the Bull back with Ron. How you doing, brother?
What's up, Danny? What's going on, man?
All good. Choppy Bitcoin. A little boring market, but I wanted to take an opportunity to get your thoughts on the overall market. You always have good charts and an outlook and objective and based on candles and all that. So we'll get into that. We'll get into some coins like we always do and talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, appreciate that, Danny. I can talk about this stuff all day, and I don't really know that many people in real life that want to hear about it. So whenever you want me up here, man, I can ramble on as long as people will listen.
Our last chat was good, man. We went an hour and a half, and like you said, it was just like a natural conversation. Got a lot of good responses out of that. A lot of people enjoyed the conversation. So, it's the same thing, man. I don't got anyone I could talk to this stuff about at home.
Yeah, I got, I mentioned him sometimes, my friend Eric in real life. He's kind of like a little bit of a crypto whale. So me and him, we talk every day about it. But other than him, he's the only person I know in real life to talk
Yeah,
about.
I got no one. You're lucky you got Eric because I got my wife who wants me to stop talking about it. I got my family who want me to stop talking about it. And so you're all I got, brother.
Pretty much like that with everybody else. But I got some good stuff today. I alluded to it on Twitter. There's a couple charts that I'm looking at that I don't really like too much. And, I'm going to put out, I normally don't put out price projections for things. I say I'm a price action trader or market analyst, however you want to say it. And I feel like I'll know the top or bottom when I see it based off of what it looks like. But for fun today, I will put out some BTC targets. And it's pretty easy. What I'm going to show, it's not like some complicated, weird thing. It's using one tool on TradingView that you can kind of get some ideas on where you think it might go this cycle.
Yeah, definitely interesting to hear that. We have some questions here about mint layer. We're going to get into all this stuff, MCADE. We're going to get into all this stuff after we look at the charts. So I'm going to star these questions. And we'll talk about the alts a little later, but I will definitely speak about all these projects. And we got Base Labs in the house. What's good? Sam in the house. Russ G. Make sure you guys smash the like, subscribe to the channel, follow Ron on all socials. Cash Games in the house. We're going to talk about TET. What the hell happened to TET? We're going to talk about it. Walshy, what's good? So you want to get started here on the status of Bitcoin and where we're at right now?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. Share my screen here.
Here we go.
So we got the weekly close today. That's always important. It's how we're looking on the weekly. I see it as markets ranging. I've said that. I was early to say that. I think we're entering a ranging period. And I talk about something called the 4-stage market cycle theory a lot. And this isn't like Bitcoin. It's just like with any asset. What you tend to see is breakout, tight channel, broad channel, range, and it ranges for a while. And then that just keeps repeating itself over and over again. That's what you got here at Bitcoin. Long ranging period, breakout, tight channel up that ended up widening into a more broad channel. Now it's flattening out into more of a range. Now there's a few things that could be going on here. Look at the daily, because one thing that there is a bearish pattern on the daily, and that is this head and shoulders. That is a pretty prominent head and shoulders on the daily. Now, just because you have a pattern like that doesn't mean that it's going to play out. I think technically by the book, a head and shoulder has like a 40% chance to play out. But there's a lot of things that you can do to add or subtract to that probability. So for one, we're in a pretty good uptrend. So that's definitely a point against it. Now, you can look down like inverse head and shoulders is what got us out of the basement from the bear market. If you scroll back here to 2022, but I hope my computer's not going to start being laggy where I have to restart it. It's been happening to me a little bit lately. But anyway, without going all the way back there, I mean, I think people know what I'm talking about. If you look at it on the weekly, it was like extremely prominent, that head and shoulders pattern. It was like a big head and shoulders on the weekly. And it lasted a long time. So that is more likely it to go against the trend if you got something like that. So when you got an uptrend on the weekly and this pattern on a smaller time frame, even though the daily is not a small time frame, that tends to that's a point kind of against it, because when you look at the weekly, you don't see it as prominent. I mean, you could still say it's there, but it's not like what I'm talking about at the bottom of the market in 2022. I mean, you can kind of say, you know, this is the head and shoulders, but it doesn't really look like it on the weekly. So I don't think traders and people that operate off the weekly are really looking at it like that. So there's a few points against it. And then another thing you want to look at, is there like two patterns combined here? And what that can be is if the right shoulder, say it's a rising wedge, like the right shoulder can be a rising wedge as well, and you don't have that here. And then it's how aggressive the move down could be. And I will say that those candles don't look great, but then you got the bull bar. That's a decent one. So it's not like the right shoulder is telling me anything too much. Like, you know, it's not a rising wedge. It's also not a big engulfing bearish all the way down type candle. So there's quite a few things pointing against the head and shoulders plan. I mean, you know, and this is a game of probabilities. Nothing is ever a for sure in this. Now I want to share this. This is a guy on Twitter. He's pretty good to follow. His name's Marty Party. And he put something out today I saw that I kind of agreed with. This right here. He put like chances with it. Like 35 chance we continue up, like that this is the bottom of the range and we continue up, 45% chance we sweep the lows. And I agree with that. I think that is a high probability that we sweep the lows and take out those stop losses underneath. Then, you know, 15 and 5% chance that we go lower, like that this head and shoulders target plays out or something to that effect. So I think that's a pretty good percentage wise that he has that he's got there. So also today we're getting some positive price action. It was up to like 95.2 earlier. That's good too on a Sunday. If you see positive price action, that means like bulls are coming trying to close the candle, get a more favorable close. So, you know, I talk about what are the hallmarks of a range. How do you know if you're in a range, or like how do you know if you're in a channel or a breakout? Like how do you know these things? Well, it's about in context of what's around it for one, and then it's just it's how it looks. There's things you can look at, like are there a lot of bars that overlap? Are there a lot of wicks? Is there a lot of indecision? Is there a case for both ways? Those are all hallmarks of a range. When it's less obvious, when there's less reasons to think that like it was just a whole lot of bear reasons on the chart and you don't see much for the bull. And, you know, you do see that. You know, you're at the bottom of a range where you've seen pretty strong buying. You could say that structurally this is kind of like a bear flag, but normally bear flags at the bottom of the range, that's not the kind of that's not the bear flags or bull flags that you want to go off of. You want it to break above structure and then consolidate. That's the kind of bull flag or bear flag that you want to see. So locally, I see it as either a range or that it's going to make a lower high here, something get rejected and push down here. And if it takes out these lows, just like Marty Party has said, that's what kind of I was thinking too, between 89 and 90 at least, to take out these lows, because you know that there's going to be, and I should probably look at a heat map, but I don't even need to. I know there's traders under here that have stop orders, and it's good to take them out because they have leverage and they may have more market impact if those don't get taken out and the market goes up and they sell with 100x leverage up here or something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this dip has been shallow compared to previous January dips. Last January, we dipped 35%, I think. The dip in January of 21 also 35%. So it's all kind of par of the course for this time, I think, in the market. What do you think of? I mean, I was looking at last cycle when we had that 35% dip in January, and around that time is when altcoins started to actually break out. You think there's a chance that we go sideways a bit in the range, or even come down some, and alts break out and go against the Bitcoin trend?
I think alts can do that more like if you after an uptrend, like either like price action like here or like even over here, that alts you can have some good runs. But the longer BTC ranges, the weaker, generally speaking, like the weaker alts will get. And you're going to have some flare ups, these AI agents, these little narratives that come up. Something bullish comes out, RWA, you're going to have that. But generally speaking, I think that, I think for alts, we need to see ETH. We need more strength for ETH. Like we probably need ETH to break 4K and confirm that and go into price discovery, most likely. I mean, there's no guarantee that what will happen in the past is going to happen again. That's what I believe. I believe strongly in the 4-year cycle theory. I think that the best is still yet to come, but there's no guarantee for these things, for sure.
Yeah, you want to pull up the ETH chart and see what that looks like?
Yeah, and normally the charts rhyme a little bit. I talked about this on the last stream. Why I thought there's a target way up there around 12 to 14,000. Got a big, and you look at ETH on the weekly. This can be like a big inverse head and shoulders. Now you get the opposite of what I said before. The head and shoulders, say like the bearish head and shoulders on an uptrend. Well, now you have a bullish head and shoulders after a leg up and uptrend. Came down here, tested this area right here. And now it's like it's making the right shoulder. Now that can be sloppy. It doesn't mean this is the bottom. It could come down here more. I mean, there's no set way what this has to happen, but you see what I'm saying. I mean, this is like forming a bullish head and shoulders. And when this plays out, that could be what finally breaks ETH out of this, rangy consolidation, price action, however you want to say it.
Yeah. What do you think of, all the news, I guess, that's been moving for, Bitcoin or whatever with unemployment and the Fed and, spooking the Fed and all that. Do you think that will have any impact on this run in terms of like how the Fed moves and what they do?
Yeah, I mean, the Fed always has a big impact in it. Like employment data, that's just that's just like day trader stuff, short term on weekly stuff. Like that's employment data is not something that I would really like put a whole lot of stock into. This U.S. government selling Bitcoin, that's something that has definitely, been a topic in the market. I was pretty sure they had actually sold it, but now I'm not so sure because they're not going to sell it on the spot market. That's just not how they operate. So it's not like they dumped $6.5 billion on the spot market. If they would have done that, put it just all on there at one time, Bitcoin probably went down to the 70s. They sell an OTC to most likely a market maker or something like that. And then the market maker, excuse me, they would have that Bitcoin and they would use it to, basically suppress the market more or less, because market makers, they get their money off fees and spread, and they just want trading volume, and they would be fine if it just stayed in the same small consolidation range for forever. They don't care what price it is really. So, but now I'm seeing some things saying that, there's actually more to the process, that yes, some things got approved, but there's still other steps. I'm gonna have to say I'm not as familiar with some of those things. So that still, I guess, remains to be seen. But if there's still more things to the process, I don't think they're going to get them done before Trump's inauguration. And then I don't think it'll get sold if it hasn't been sold already.
Yeah, and we're about, a week, 8 days away from inauguration, the 20th. Yeah. So, so there are a lot of key dates coming up. We got PPI and CPI data coming in this week, I think on Tuesday and Wednesday. Then we got Trump's inauguration.
Solana ETF.
Solana ETF. When is that? Do you know?
23rd, I think.
23rd, and then we got the Fed meeting on the 29th. So all of that stuff could give, you know, the market a reason to push the price around. And, you know, you know, you see like good news of unemployment coming in, right? And the market behaves and takes it as bad news. And you see like the way this cycle just repeats itself where, you know, like I said, last January, 35% down after a big pump. 2021, 35% down in January after a big run up. You know, do you think that, you know, price dictates narrative in a sense? Like, you know, people assign a narrative to it and give it a reason for why it's going down based off of the price moving?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, news does move markets. There's a story in a book that I read. I may have talked about it last stream. Volume price analysis by Anna Cooling. Yeah, I think I did, and it's about the guy sells these widgets or whatever, and that's just a really good example of how all this stuff works. So like they definitely use the news to change markets. And you know, I don't know if, okay, I guess to answer the question, I think they will break these things out at opportune times to try to get maximum impact, if that makes sense. And some of these things that I'm going to talk about, I posted on Twitter when I shared the stream, is that there is two charts that I don't love the way they look now. And that's just, and it's not to scare anybody. Like I said, I believe in the 4-year cycle theory, and I think we're going to keep going up. But this is just to show that I don't just drink the Kool-Aid or what everyone else said. To be honest, I don't care what everyone else is saying. That is one of the things that one of my primary mentors really instilled in me is like, go with what you think. If that's what you're seeing, then you do that, or you think that, you know, don't worry about what all these clowns on Twitter or somebody else said. Now, I might refer to some of them and check their notes out, but at the end of the day, just to make sure I'm not missing something, maybe some other good people that I know on YouTube and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm going off what I said. And Danny, you've been, you know, we've been talking for a while, and through the bear market, I made a lot of claims that people thought were crazy at the time, and I was right. You know, so yeah. I'm going to keep operating the same way that I've been operating. I don't care if, you know, it doesn't jive with what some other people say on Twitter. You know, I'm going to go with what I say. And then to answer the question about the Fed a minute ago. So I don't believe, all right. So, I mean, just the meeting before that, he acted like, I believe it was the meeting before that they were going to have multiple rate cuts next year. Right. And then
well, he said 2 rate cuts next year.
But the meeting before that.
Yes, correct. Multiple, right?
Like the meeting before that, he had said, I think insinuated there's going to be lots of rate cuts next year.
Yeah.
So then it's just one meeting away, and then he changed it. So the next meeting, I mean, that could definitely be. So, I mean, for one, the administration is going to change. Also, I think there's going to be a lot of rate cuts. They have to cut rates. So I think especially when you mesh this with the kind of political landscape on what you see going on, like one thing that Trump has, and Elon helping him kind of campaigned on a lot, was being smarter with the money, right? Like the Doge thing, the Department of whatever it says. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So
yeah, cutting back on spending.
Yeah, and being smarter with the budget and all these things. So I may not be 100% about these numbers, but I believe that about 70% of the United States government's budget is spent on 3 things. By far, the biggest expenditure by them is the interest on the national debt, and then the military and Social Security. So when you read about these things, like the United States spent, you know, $100 million to some random country about gender studies. Yeah, that's a stupid way to spend money, but that's just a drop in the bucket. Like that doesn't really make much dent in the total budget. Now, these 3 items do. Trump is not going to cut the military. If anything, he's more likely to increase military spending, especially with some of these things he's talking about with Greenland and Panama Canal or whatever. Social Security, that's definitely not a popular thing for politicians to cut. So then you got the biggest line item, the national debt. So the only way that they can make that better is to lower interest rates and refinance the debt. That's all they can do. So, and he wants a weaker dollar, which is, I'm going to look at the dollar chart here in a minute because that's one of the things that slightly concerns me in the short to midterm. But he wants a weaker dollar. So the way you do that is inflation, lower rates and print money. So I would not, I think there'll be more than 2 rate cuts next year. I think they're going to want to cut rates and refinance the debt.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But you're right. There's only so long that you can operate with $34 trillion in debt at, with the interest that they're paying on it.
Yeah, and they are kind of campaigned and talked a lot about bringing those things down. So when you look at the 3 big expenditures, I don't think they're going to cut on the military. I don't think they're going to cut on Social Security. National debt is that's the biggest one anyway. So I think that, and I'm not a big fan of the Biden administration or anything, but I do think that they were kind of dealt a rough hand with how much inflation happened before them going into office, with so much money printing, basically, that they had to keep rates higher throughout his 4 years. And that's not like a apologetic with anything in Biden. It's just like, I don't care. Like, I'm just saying what I see and what's happening,
Yeah. Do you want to move on to those charts that you see that give you a cause for concern over the short term?
Sure. Do you want me to look at that or talk about Bitcoin targets first?
Go for Bitcoin targets. Let's do it.
Okay. And now this is going to be pretty simple. All right. So when you look back at previous cycles, the previous all-time high can be a place that you look for price to come back in the bear market. So we go all the way back. So this is the Bitcoin index chart. All right, let's see. This is 2017, I think. All right, let's see where the bear market went. This is old data. When this market cap's smaller, it didn't really have, let's see, the bear market. All right, it went to about $166. And it may be a little harder to tell this far back. Okay, 13. So you see it just went below that, but it's like in the range of the 13 high. Like you're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
And then between 17 and 21, people talk about the COVID low a lot, but that actually was not the low in the bear market. It was here. The COVID low was not the low. It was here. So that was 3,100. I believe the low in the other market was, if the high was 12. So this was the high from the first one. So it did not reach it, not quite reach that high from last. It didn't go below the previous high. Now this past bear market, the previous high was 20K and you went down to 15. So you did go below it a little bit. So I think you can agree that the previous all-time high from the previous cycle can be some sort of, rough estimate on where you think price could come back in the bear market. I think that's reasonable to say off of the things I just showed, right?
Right. Yeah.
And now Bitcoin and all these scenarios had an 80% cut. Last time it was 78%, I think. So let's just say that was 70%. And this right here, this around 70K, this is a strong level for Bitcoin now, because this goes back to the last market cycle. And that's why it was so hard. I've talked about this in previous videos. That's why it was so hard to break through, because you had quite a bit of price history and volume that occurred here. So it's going to be harder to break through. And that's why we ranged here for so long, to where in the previous market cycle, it took out 20K pretty easy, because it was just a blow off top in that cycle. You didn't have a lot of price history here. So it's easier to take out. So I think 70K has proven itself, or it is going to be a hard level to break back down through the downside. So if you were going to say that Bitcoin was just going to have a 70% drop this bear market cycle and go down to 70K, then that's 230.
Yeah.
Is a 70% drop. Now I know some people will say, well, you know, the ETFs, country adoption, blah, 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 blah. Now, the market cap is going to be a lot bigger, and that does matter. You know, it's not as easily pushed down, but I actually think these things that people would point to, the ETF, the country adoption, that is going to lead, especially if we get country adoption, that's going to lead to the same similar bear market scenarios we've seen in the past. Because all these things, like all markets, are kind of driven off news and potential, you know, like, you know, buy the rumor, sell the news. But once the news happens, you know, it's come. That, like, markets need something to look forward to. So ETFs already come, the government's already buying or whatever. What's to look forward to? You know, and the market cycle starts playing out. Just assuming we get the same thing in the same 4 years, you're going to have people like us, traders, whatever, selling. These ETFs, they run this market now. It's not that they can't sell, they do, you know, so they can start selling, and that just causes a domino effect. So that I think that 230, that could be somewhere you look to if you're saying it's going to come back to 70K in the bear market, because that was the previous high, and I don't think it's going to break below that. Now, if you say like, well, 100K, like we're not going back below 100K, and the market, so say you think 100K is going to be the bear market price, and you're like, well, I don't think we're going to have as big of a drop because the market cap is so much bigger. Even if what you're saying is true, with there's nothing to look forward to, countries will still maybe buy, you know, they have some kind of program or whatever. So say you were saying it was going to be a 50% cut, and that 100 was going to be the bottom, you know, then that's easy. That's like 200. So even that scenario, that you're kind of being conservative on the drop.
But a 50% cut, yeah, will be 200. Yep. Sorry, I was checking your math in my head.
Yeah, and that's real easy. Now, I think if 140 is a target, I think that's 140, 150 is the target a lot of people talking about. So if you did that, and a 50% drop there could be, you know, 70K. So I think that is a few scenarios that you could see play out. You know, 140 to 150, you know, if you don't get much pullbacks on the way up, like if you just get stuff like this, that's like 15%, and we're not getting 25 and 30% pullbacks, then maybe you could make the argument that we'll only get a 50% chop in the bear market. But like we got a 50% chop in the middle of the last bull market. And, you know, like people have talked about a lot, 30% drops during this are very common. So keep that in mind. If you still think a bear market is going to come for Bitcoin, what price it would have to go to for any of those targets, even if it's a 50%, which is, I think, conservative bear market drop. And then some people, you know, they're thinking Bitcoin's going to go into a permanent bull market. Maybe it will. I mean, I won't be mad if it does. I just don't think so. I think especially if we get the country adoption this market cycle, I still think that you're still going to have a lot of people selling and taking profit, and that these typical top indicators are going to get hit. Pi cycle top, Coinbase #1 app, long-term holders in profit, social engagement. Like there's a lot of these metrics that have all played out every cycle. So a lot of people know about them now, and I think people are going to sell. I think that the ETFs, that they're going to sell some, and that I think we're still going to have a drop for the bear market.
And not to mention that we've been closely aligned with the traditional markets now, with moving kind of lockstep, almost not lockstep, but following traditional markets. And the stock market's been ripping. S&P 500's been ripping new all-time highs, and it's going to get overheated at some point, right? There's going to be a sharp correction on the S&P. It doesn't go straight up forever. We've seen big corrections every, you know, once in a while. And so I see a lot of people moving to cash there as valuations get a little out of hand with some of these big tech stocks. And, you know, maybe you see another bubble emerging driven by AI, right? Like an AI bubble, because every time a new technology comes along, it kind of, you know, there's a lot of speculation, and it brings a lot of money to the market. So maybe that's what we're in the midst of also in this, you know, a macro AI driven bubble.
Yeah, I think that's very likely, like the .com bubble.
Yeah.
That caused massive gains, but like not all these projects make it. And then, you know, some things did come out of it and they were very successful. And yeah, I think that's very possible. That's why I think AI, you know, be the biggest narrative for this cycle. And you know, at the end of the day, it's all speculation. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah. What we got here? The US dollar.
Yeah. So this is something that I don't love and like kind of point what you're saying before. So I think if they cut rates next year, like I think they will, then the year after that, you know, then that's some of these other bearish things that you see are going to happen and start raising rates again or not cut them. And all that's going to affect the market, the greater market and all these things. So the more this chart goes up, the worse that is for all other assets. Like you said, people move money to cash.
Yeah.
And this is the strength of the US dollar. Even the government doesn't want it this strong because it affects like manufacturing and trading and all these things. So this is the daily right here. Pretty strong uptrend on this. Now, one way you could look at this is saying, well, it's been quite parabolic for a while. Maybe it's time for it to cool off. Maybe, and I hope that's the case. But in Forex, and this is a Forex chart, things can trend for a long time. I mean, for a very long time. So, and if you look at the weekly, this is what's a little concerning is like, there's really not much in the way for it to go up here to reach this high. I mean, maybe this big dump candle here, maybe that could be a place for resistance and it makes a lower high on this, but it is broken out of this range to the upside with pretty decent price action. This was a long consolidation range. We're looking at the weekly. So just as I would say with Bitcoin, when something breaks out of the range like that, it's more likely to keep going up in some kind of breakout till it, you know, does what it's going to do. Now, economic policy and things like that can affect this, and the government can come out with some things and maybe cool it off or whatever. And if you look from last time when it made this high, so from here to where it made this high over here, that was only a little over 2 months, 2.5 months, call it. So it didn't take it a whole very long time. And so one thing that could be like maybe just it'll run up here over the next 6 weeks or something like that and make that high and then come down, and then that can coincide with a run up in crypto maybe. But I don't love how on the weekly it looks like it could keep going on higher time frames, because that would be now, that's not anything like the bull market's over or anything like that, but it's something that I don't love to see. And I don't look at every single chart all the time. You know, you get people there like BTC dominance, DXY, total crypto. You know, I generally look at the chart I'm trading, but it is situationally I do refer to these charts, and you know, that's something that I could put out about the US dollar. What do you think about that, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't studied the chart or anything like that, but I've heard a lot of people mentioning this. And you know, Bitcoin obviously thrives on a weaker dollar.
Yeah, and hopefully it's been, you know, one way you look at it, it's been going up for a while. Maybe it needs to cool off, maybe, but just when you look at it on the weekly, it breaks out of that range and it's going up pretty strong price action. So, you know, that's what Bitcoin's doing. So, and we expect it to keep going up. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Now, this is the USD dominance chart, and this is a great bull market indicator. I got some things highlighted here. This was the FTX collapse, I think, when that happened, or maybe this was right here. Okay, this is the Luna collapse. That was the Luna collapse, and that's when it started. The FTX collapse, big red candles. You know, before that, you know, in bull market, you see up, 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 up. And that's why I also wrote here, when BTC broke out of that massive head and shoulders, kind of marking the bottom of the market. I mean, look what you've seen, just pretty much up, up, up. Yeah, that ranging period, little red candles, you know. All right, now these candles, they look relatively small, but in context of everything else, it's actually the biggest red candle since the FTX dump. You know, and this is a great bull market indicator. So this is what I don't really like to see, is that the USD dominance is printing some red candles. I mean, you got a few right here.
Yeah. Did we see similar candles on the way up in the last cycle?
This was like the bull market lull, kind of in the summer, where we had that 50% drop. Other than that, no, it was just green all the way up.
How about in the 35% pullback in January of 21?
Nah, this is all, yeah. That was a big candle, actually.
Yeah.
Pretty big anyway. I think it's this. Yeah, all those are pretty big. And then if you look at the monthly on this, that's the way to zoom out a little better. It's also, see, I want to say like the candle has a decent size wick on it. I mean, in relative, you don't see too many upper wicks on this. This one has a decent upper wick on it from last month. And this month it hasn't really been pretty flat. So I know that wick, if it was a normal chart, that wouldn't be much. But then when you look down, there's really not too many where you see that. Maybe this a little bit. But yeah, and you don't have a red monthly candle, at least, where you saw in the Luna collapse and the FTX collapse. But it's just something to pay attention to. And I just said I think that 230 can be a target for Bitcoin this cycle. So it's not that I'm bearish, but also I don't just drink the Kool-Aid or what everyone else is saying. And I look at all these things and keep track of it and making sure that I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid and I am, staying open-minded. I mean, I hope that these cycles play out like it has in the past and everything is great and it does like it has in the past. I really hope that happens, but there's no guarantee that is what will happen.
Yeah, I mean, until it happens, it hasn't happened, right? I mean, we work off historical data, and the cycles have played out, eerily similar every single time, sometimes to the day, right? Yeah. It's kind of wild, but you still need it to happen in order to confirm, right, that it's happening again.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that. I mean, maybe this time, too many people know about it and they're betting on this, and we're going to run it right up to the point where they think there's going to have the banana zone and we're taking this sucker down. I don't see that. I mean, and then be careful also saying, well, no, that's not going to happen because look at the news, look at the strategic Bitcoin reserve, look at this, Trump going to office, all the people surround him. I do agree with those things. That I like them, but also keep in mind when the FTX collapse happened and that was the bottom, there was so much. I mean, flip it around, think of it the other way and think of how much bearish sentiment there was then, and a lot of your favorite influencers and Coles were saying we're going to 12K, we're going to 9K, short the market now, and that was the bottom. Now, I don't see it as that in reverse of the bull market. I would say this is more like the Luna collapse type, if I was going to put it, in bear market terms. Like there's a lot of bullish news, but it's not bullish to a point like people are getting swept up and just losing their sense of reason with a emotion over the euphoria and what they think is to come in the market. That should be more, what you see at the top of the bull market, assuming that we get the same thing that we've seen in the past.
Right. Yeah. Bull markets usually top out with euphoria, not with indecision or, people looking for a direction.
Yeah. There is bullish news out there, but it's not any kind of mania phase at all. I wouldn't say that at all.
Yeah. And I mean, the Bitcoin fear and greed index, I think, I think it's bullish if, it resets to neutral and even a little fear in the market and we're holding a 95K and there's some fear in the market and then the market gets to reset and push higher.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to see that. Even when you got it people start being fearful at 100K. Yeah, that's good to see. But now keep in mind, at some point, it will be fearful at a high price, and you're going to want to probably sell things out.
Yeah. So what are you doing right now? You buying, DCAing?
Well, I put out a Telegram. I think since Bitcoin kind of entered this phase up here, I put out twice that I was going to buy. I think one was here on this wick down here. And then I said it recently, like down here on these wicks. Other than that, I mean, some projects I might just lightly DCA or make moves just to entertain myself, things that I buy and then sell or whatever. But for the long-term holds, for me, putting into the things I believe in, TARS AI, AI tech, projects like that, then yeah, I'm trying to pick my spots. One thing I talk about a lot is I don't just say buy the dip. I think a lot of the big, especially those popular calls out there on Twitter, every red candle, they just say buy the dip,
Yeah.
I don't think that that's always the way to go. The way I'm looking at this now, that this is a range. And as a rule of thumb, you want to buy in the bottom third, sell in the top third. Some people say bottom 25%, upper 25%, whatever. There's no set way to do it, but this is that. This is the bottom 25 or 30% of the range, because a range is unpredictable. You don't know exactly where it's going to go. So you're just trying to get good price. It's not about saying I got the very bottom lowest price when it's ranging like that.
Yeah, and you can't. I think it's also important not to be too greedy, right, to the downside during these times in the market, because if we do get the move out of this range to the upside, alts can move very quickly, right? We know that the biggest amount of gains is made in a very short amount of time here, and so it's we talk about DEVVE was at 14 to 35 cents for so long, and now it's at $1.70, and we see how fast it's moved. Something like Tectum could regain momentum and, within a matter of days can be back up to $18 or so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, alts, they move fast, and that's what will happen. People that didn't buy on, they're being greedy to the downside, then they're up, and then they don't want to buy then, and then another green candle comes, and they're like, oh, then they just give in, kind of like tap out to the upside, and then they buy on top of that. Like I brought AI tech up just because it's an example of what I was talking about. It was respecting this trend line here, wick down below it a little bit on this, but this is kind of the zone that I have drawn here where I think like that's where you want to buy. And you call it a range, that's the top. And this yellow line here, say that's the bottom, that's on line with this little box I have. If you look back, assuming just AI tech does okay, not even saying it goes to, a $10 billion market cap, just say, it goes up with the bull market, stuff like that. When you look back and see that I was buying this red zone, I'll look like a genius, even though, some of that may have been here, not here, even though I didn't get the rock bottom price. It's about getting a good price.
Correct. Yeah. And I feel like greed is what wrecks people the most. And it works in both directions, right?
Yeah,
greed to the
downside.
Yeah, greed to the downside, greed to the upside, not selling at the right time, and all those things. So, AI tech's been in this range for a while now. It hasn't, AI has been hot. Mostly the agents have been hot. I've seen AI tech now kind of delving into the agent thing, promoting it, saying that they have grants for $1 million, I think, to promote agents and things like that. Are you surprised that AI tech hasn't moved more?
No, not really. You just saw that was a consolidation of almost half a year. No, not really, because what you're seeing mostly is like these AI agent things. Yeah, I don't really look at them too much different than like the new meme coin market in a sense. And I jumped on a few of them, but like the ones that I've done, I sold out of. AI Fund, we put that out before it had any spike. That had massive gains. Pippin, that had massive gains. And I've talked about some of these on Telegram. I put some out as options, and like generally speaking, they've went parabolic, and yeah, they're still going up. And I don't chase stuff like that, or they've went up, kind of found some kind of bottom ranging, something like that. And then there's just so many I just don't know which ones will recover. And at this point, now this has been a year ago, I would be looking at Morales more, finding the new AI agents that are coming out and stuff like that. At this point, I don't really care about it that much. I mean, just to entertain myself, I'll keep up with it and I'll make a few plays and stuff like that. But I'm not all gung-ho AI agent, anything like that. So I feel the best way to make gains in the bull market is to get good fundamental projects, buy them at a good price, and hold on to them for the top of the market. So most legit AI projects that have been out a little while and aren't just the flavor of the week, they haven't been doing anything. I mean, Palm AI, AI Tech, AGI, TARS AI. I mean, they've been doing okay, but none of them have been, going parabolic. So it's not what I would expect from those projects.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't chased. I did buy that one Asto. I ended up selling it because they're merging with they're merging with another project and rebranding. So I sold it immediately, and then it dipped like 60% because people didn't understand the merger. People hate those things when they have to, migrate the token. They don't understand what's going on. It wasn't a 1-to-1 swap. It was like 1 to 0.69 because of the new tokenomics. So I dumped it immediately, and it went down 60% after that. Uno brings up the agent.land ecosystem. Have you delved into that? That's what in the Telegram what was dropped last week.
Yeah. And in the Telegram, it's not just me finding these things, because I didn't find this. Somebody else found it. And it made massive gains. That's what's up here right now. Fortunate.
Is that max?
Yeah, it is. That's a 4-hour, so on the daily. I mean, this thing was strong. Like, I mean, people found, and it was getting people. Like, I know people were buying this candle and stuff like that. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna chase it. I made an initial buy when the person put it out, and then there was other projects that spun off of this. One called BlackRock and one called GRT or something like that.
Yeah, GNRT.
So I had said I thought that around here, or like at 7 would be a good price to buy. And it went there and wicked up. Now you're getting a green candle for the day. I think you're going to see some ranging, some consolidation. It might be a good place to buy it when it, as you see it, make some kind of range and buy it at the bottom of that range. That's what I would expect to see happen. But the person that found this has extreme conviction about this project. And I think it's connected to ORAI.
ORAI, yeah.
Yeah, ORAI, even though it's on Solana. And they've said that, it's got big plans, that this thing is going to be big. So I am interested in it. I think it's as good as probably anything that's come out in this time frame that you could look to maybe, if you wanted to invest in a new project. I just feel like at this point in the market cycle that it's kind of showed its hand on what a lot of the winners are going to be. And I'm not looking as much to get into the brand new stuff as much as I am that I'd rather I got into so many things so low, at their bottoms, Rio, Solana, a lot of things, AGI, AI tech, even though I bought that at higher prices as well, that I'm positioned pretty well, and I don't need to take lots of chances. I would rather just put it on things that I think will more likely to 5 to 10x or something like that than taking stabs at and chasing new projects.
Yeah. What's the market cap on Max now? Is that 200 million?
109.
Oh, 109. It went up to 200. I think it came back down.
I think Amazing was more than that. Oh, no, that's probably right at 200. But it was at 90 earlier today, even maybe. So yeah, it's going to be a little volatile right now, I would imagine.
I did buy the other 2 racks and GNRT. I just threw my PAL AI, which was ended up being good timing also, because I saw PAL AI was dropping a new token, Pigeon or something, they were chasing the AI agent narrative and dropping a new token. So I got out of that and just moved it into racks. That was good timing because PAL AI had since got a 50% haircut.
Now this is one I know that we both hold and like pretty well, and Astra is looking pretty good. This is the daily. Had that close above the structure to the left. Would have liked to see that hold and not get it met with selling today, but like looking at this on the weekly, looks pretty good. Hopefully it'll close a little higher. If it would have closed above that on the weekly, then that would look real good. They just got listed on MEXC. I think it's pretty good AI projects. One that I've hit 100x on because I bought it at 300K market cap on the first buy.
Nice.
But I've bought it that was just one buy. I bought most of it in like 2 to 3 million or something like that. It's one of my biggest holds, even though I didn't put very much money into it. It's just
same. It's like a top 8 bag of mine because of that also, because it just got it cheap and it held up pretty strong in the lull. I think it topped out at like 3 something, and then it held up in like the $1.50 range or whatever. which like I think at like a 60% cut, but compared to like AI Tech got like cut down like 80%, Tectum like 90%. I think some of those guys got hit really hard, but Astra held up pretty well. They got a ton of partnerships. They just got $20 million VC funding. They're going to be doing buybacks, quarterly buybacks of I think $250,000 each quarter. So maybe that's what that big green wick was in timing with the MEXC listing. They did a buyback.
Maybe. Yeah, I like they've been active. It held up pretty well during the lull in the market, like you said, and they got a lot going on. Yeah, I like Astra AI for sure. I saw somebody asking about TET. It was kind of this channel. It's got history on that trend line. And this is what you don't really want to see. And I talked about this in Telegram, that like you don't want it to go to the bottom of the range, form some kind of consolidation pattern, and then break out of that with a bearish candle. That's honestly, you don't want to see that. Where can it go? It can certainly go to this low. That is not out of the question at all to go down there. And that's a 40% drop. Doesn't look that far. And it may not go all the way down to that. It could go down to this, or it's still 20, 30% drop. Maybe it'll end up being a range break fake and just go back in there. And, it won't be this channel. It'll double bottom with this. And this will be like more of a range than a channel. That could absolutely be what's happening here. But I saw this as more of a channel. And like I said, that's not what you don't want to see. Strong candles going into the bottom of the candle, some kind of consolidation pattern, and then a breakout to the downside from that consolidation pattern, breaking below the trend line. It's not really what you want to see. Now, these altcoins, it's you don't know who holds them sometimes, and all these kinds of things. So TA, it doesn't work on altcoins as well as some other things with bigger market caps and stuff, because you just don't know the team and who has a lot of them and stuff. So I'm not saying for sure that Tectum is going to go down another 20 to 30%, but it doesn't look great on chart. And I'm not somebody who's, sells the bottom or gets scared or anything like that. Like I said, it could be coming down here. This could form a range. This could double bottom here. That is also a potential scenario. But when you're talking about things that you want to hold for the bull market, we assess those things fundamentally, more or less. And then we want to get good price on those by using technical analysis. And just because something has good utility, good use case, sounds smart, whatever, that's no guarantee. Fundamentally, TET is a strong project. I know people have some questions about the team, communication, whatever. At face value, TET is a strong project fundamentally. That is not a guarantee that just because it's strong fundamentally, that it'll go up and have a great bull market. I think it will. I think it's good, strong fundamental project. So that's what I try to put my funds in, strong fundamental projects, and then buy them at good prices. So my bag with TET, I feel like I'm good with what I got. I'm not looking to buy or sell. I'm just going to hold on TET, and it's either going to have a good cycle or it's not. And if it is, that's why I diversified. And if TET were to completely just not do anything, I would like for it to do something. I certainly wanted to add to my gains, but if it doesn't, I still think I'll be okay.
Yeah, same. I spoke to a team member yesterday. Omar, I'm going to have him on the channel next week. I talked to them about their communication, things like that. It is a priority to shift around, and he's reaching out to the community to get questions. Going to have weekly meetings on some of the tech stuff, and then he's going to report back. So we're going to be doing an AMA next Monday, I think. So anyone here who likes TET, come through, watch that. I think it's a great project fundamentally as well. Price hasn't held up, like you said, but price action, narrative often follows price, and when the price is down, the narrative, the bear narrative takes hold. And I saw this with DEVVE when DEVVE was at 20 cents, 15 cents. It was getting sold off on every pump, and the narrative was the tokenomics sucked. But now that the price is up on DEVVE, the narrative is a big partnership and everything that they're going to do. So I think if we get a reversal on Tectum's price, that the narrative will follow that, and momentum breeds momentum. And it's down, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this doesn't look bad like DEVVE did. DEVVE looked terrible, like a downtrend since the launch. Basically, DEVVE looked really bad. So TET doesn't look like that. I mean, I could if I had to say which is more likely, that it double bottoms here and this is the bottom, or it comes down to here, I would say it's slightly more likely that this is the double bottom and that this will be the low. I think it's slightly more likely. Slightly. I'm not saying that like I feel strong conviction about that. This triangle here, if you take that measure move from it, well, that's basically where it's hit. That has played out, the measure move from that. Well, when you see an inside bar like this on a higher time frame, I know that that's a triangle. That's why I drew those lines there. Like if you look on smaller time frames, that's what that is, a symmetrical triangle. So could it be the double bottom here, or is it more of a channel and it's going to flatten out to a larger range and come down and test this low? If it does come down and test this low to $3, I probably will buy some then. But other than that, I'm just looking to hold TET. I'm fine with what I got. I still think it's a strong fundamental project. I think I talked about it in the last stream. I've looked into FUD points that I've seen in other videos and people have brought up to me. It didn't scare me into selling anything. So,
yeah. Great to see you, sir. When do you think Bitcoin layer 2 narrative will start pumping? Referring to Mint Layer here. Mint Layer's chart doesn't look great either at the moment. Do you want to pull that up?
Yeah, similar to a lot of alts that you see looking at the bottom of the range. Now it's a big bearish candle, but it's in a range. So closing at the bottom of the range like that, it is more likely to reverse up than to go down. Now, if it were to maybe do something like we just saw from TET, and you see some kind of consolidation pattern right here at the bottom of the range and then break out below that and close here below the structure to the left, then you might be saying, all right, this doesn't look good. But you got price history here too, where it came out over here. So that's helping the support here. I would say similar with TET. I would even give Mint Layer more of a chance that it's in its relative low here, I would probably say.
Yeah, I do think that Mint Layer, the question was, could it hit $2 by end of May? It hit it wicked over $1 early in the year within a week or something. I think after Tectum went up to $45, Mint Layer shot up to $1. So, if we get a strong alt season, yeah, I think it's possible that it gets up there again.
24x. Yeah, I mean, we just have this alt season just has to come, and there's no guarantee it will come. I think for me, the question is, there's so many more projects this cycle than last cycle. There was more projects in 2021 than there was in 2017 as well. But I think the dilution is a lot more this cycle, and you're going to get increased market cap. We've already got increased market cap in the total crypto space. But is that going to be enough to disperse across all the projects and make them pump to similar valuations as last cycle? There's no way we can know. I think that it probably will, especially the winners. I think the winners will hit the same market caps or bigger than the winners did last cycle. But like I said, there's a lot of project dilution out there. So we don't know that the altcoin season will be as parabolic. So assuming it happens, and I think it will, that we get the altcoin season, assuming it happens, I'm really going to be on my toes. I'm going to be watching the charts and trying to make the best decisions that I can and really, really be all in on my game when that happens.
Yeah, I just added a little Mint Layer down under 10 cents.
Yeah, I would buy. I mean, I don't know that I will, but I think this is a fine price to buy. Let me see on the daily. It looks, I don't love the way that looks. Those little bars going like that. That's not good. Like, that's not what you want to see going into support. But it is also, kind of like a second leg. Got a green candle today. I don't know. Hopefully it holds up. If it didn't, let's see where it could potentially go. I mean, probably there, something like that. Maybe on that low here, and you got this range, this price history range there. That would be a 30% drop. So what it could be, you know, if it continues to be bearish, that could be somewhere where it could drop and find a bottom.
Yeah, we got a Medicaid question here. The market cap is 10x with the liquidity pool 10x with it.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
As it goes up, Medicaid gets inherently more valuable. So the price of Medicaid goes up, and that adds to the value of the liquidity pool as Medicaid gets more scarce in the liquidity pool. So like when I talk about all liquidity pools and altcoin projects, I always say, think about it as if the other coin that's paired with ETH, whether it's Medicaid, Chuck, anything, just say that that's worth nothing. Just say that this token is like the ETH is the only thing that actually has value in the pool. So as the Medicaid gets taken out of the pool and bought, the Medicaid within the pool, like I said, gets inherently more valuable, making the price of the value of the liquidity pool higher. Although keep in mind, only half of that is ETH and half of it is going to be Medicaid. So, and like I said, it's not that I say Medicaid is worthless. I'm saying this about any project, like anything. If you're saying like ETH's the only thing that has actual value, and then the other coin paired with it is speculative, then as it gets bought up and gets more scarce, that value is factored into the liquidity pool as that token being more valuable, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Will it be a problem to cash out of some of these utility tokens at the value that people have them at? Like, let's say you have like 7 figures in, you know, something like Medicaid or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't get out. I would recommend people get out of some mindset that I'm going to sell $1 million at one time or something like that. You want to sell as it goes up, sell into pumps or whatever. I mean, okay, how can you look at the ways you can sell it? So the main thing that we need in this bull market to unload bags is volume. You need just lots of traders, lots of buys and stuff. And Medicaid has great volume. But if you had $1 million worth of Medicaid, you try to sell into the liquidity pool in one go, you aren't going to get anywhere close to $1 million.
Right.
But there's in the Uniswap or Aerodrome, even those liquidity pools in their own, they don't even have $1 million worth of ETH in them. So you can't do it on a DEX. So you do it on an exchange. If you put $1 million sell order, you know, it's not going to get picked up. I really don't think so. I think it's going to be a sell wall. And then I don't know. I mean, maybe eventually it does if there's a lot of volume, but it's I think it's unlikely that you sell it that way.
Yeah. Then, go ahead.
You just like on the exchange, some of them have market orders, but then that's the same kind of concept as liquidity pool on a DEX, and you have to have the liquidity there to do it. Other than that, there's got to be a buyer for that. So if there's a lot of volume, and that's why, you know, Binance listings are good. The volume is so high on Binance, and you just have traders and bots and stuff going on. So that would be good. And that's why big exchanges are good, because you got higher volume, and then maybe just the trading that happens and you can get it, you know, picked up. So it's not impossible, but that's certainly not the way I look. I don't plan to sell $1 million worth of Medicaid at any time.
Yeah, I think it's important people to understand that, how liquidity pools work and all that. And so that they can have their profit-taking strategy and, you know, without minimizing, you know, losses as they're selling, and doing it the right way so that they can get the most out of what they have.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me on profit-taking strategies and things, and I say when we get these parabolic moves up, I'm going to sell some after green candles where the liquidity is there and there's a lot of buying happen. I'm going to sell into those, and then I'm going to look for topping signals or reversal signals and sell into those. And if I don't hit the top of everything, like Pippin recently, I didn't hit I sold out of all that, and it kept going. Now it's lower than where I sold out completely at, but I sold out as it went up because I don't know how much it's going to go up. You know, when I was up 4 or 5x on it, that's good. You know, I was happy with that. It ended up going up 10x or more, and I sold some more. And, you know, that's how I think the best way to do it is, because if you're looking for the top price all the time, when it goes up that top price, and just say your unrealized is like 100K on whatever it is, then it comes back down. People get that price stuck in their head of 100K and they don't want to sell it. for 80K or 70K because they look at it as like losing $20,000 or $30,000, and then they just keep waiting for that price again, and then they make it right with themselves that, well, that'll come back next cycle. So even though it's a few years from now, if I just hold it, then I'll still get all that money because now at this point it's like 40K or whatever. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's important for people not to do calculations ahead of time and say, if this hits this price, I'll have this amount of money, right? Because then you lock yourself in, and instead think about eating off the chart as it goes up and just extracting money out of it. Because if you look at, when I was looking at the 2017, blow off top, to catch, no one caught that top because it dumped 50% within a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, it went up, and as fast as it went up, it dumped. So, you could say that, some of those assets went to certain market caps, but, you weren't getting out at that market cap because of the volatility involved and all that. So it's important, I think, to work that out ahead of time. I plan to do a lot of selling. I said it a couple streams ago, a lot of selling, if we get a nice parabolic run up, because even if it's not the top in May or whenever it happens, even if it's not the top, you're still going to get a 50 to 60% haircut on these things or more. If we end up coming back at the end of the year in November, it's not going to go straight up. We're not going to go parabolic in spring and then straight parabolic through November. If we continue on towards the end of the year, you're going to get a lot of volatility and a likely, 60% dump on some of these things.
Yeah. Get comfortable holding USDC or USDT and not looking for something else to reinvest it in. That's a big lesson I would recommend to people is, even if you got like a cold storage device or something, a Ledger Stacks or something, use that to hold it in, or just something that's not readily available to you, that you just can't use a USDC to ape into other things and start looking for what hasn't pumped yet and what's new and these kinds of things, because then you're just recycle the money and you'll end up holding weaker assets into the bear market. And you see that a lot with people. Matter of fact, we made some mistakes like that in March. Yeah, February to March when things are pumping in. I let the pressure of people asking me get to me a little bit. Like, they missed this, they're like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I always had kind of putting pressure on me to find more gems, and that kind of got to me a little bit. And I reached on a few things, and but as a lesson I already knew, and it reconfirmed that. And I think that I'm kind of glad it happened, because now it's not going to happen when game is really game time and it's the top of the bull market, not just an alt rally.
Yeah, same. I learned that again earlier in the year. Over rotating, chasing, you often, it doesn't work out in the end. Medicaid now is a good opportunity, I think, to buy it. What is that, 2.7 right now? And this has been strong support for it.
Yeah, like Medicaid and TARS AI, those are two projects that show good strength. Like, came down here. This is the gap that it left. This is something that I look at a lot. I know you've heard me talk about it enough that you know what I'm talking about, Danny, but like, this is the breakout point. This is like where traders say, okay, it goes past this with a good close, whatever, it goes up. So when it comes back, this is where lots of traders look for to enter, just people that know how to read charts and stuff. So if it doesn't come down to that and it gets bought up before, and especially aggressively like a wick, that shows the demand, the eager buyers, however you want to say it, leaves that gap there. And that is something that, in my opinion, one of the main things you look at to show strength. I mean, I don't love this candle, kind of like a bearish outside bar. But overall, I think it's a bull flag here we're seeing here. Maybe Medicaid come down and touch the top of this again and double bottom there. I just think that the days of Medicaid over here in this price zone, that's not, though we're not going to see that again. Maybe it might come down here in the low 20s. Same thing with TARS AI. Like, I was buying a lot through here in like 11 cent. I just don't think we're going to see that again. You kind of got a double bottom here, double bottom bull flag. That's a pretty good pattern. Also, it could make another push down and form a wedge. That's one push, two pushes, three pushes. That could be a falling wedge bull flag as well. Wicked off the 20 week EMA there. That's a good sign too. I'd say it's similar with MCADE. I don't think that we're going to see these prices down here for TARS AI. Again, maybe you get them down here in the low 20s, just like with MCADE, low 20s. Maybe you get that. I think anything mid 20s and below for TARS AI. You see a 25, 26 on TARS AI. I think that's a good price. And I was buying there. I put that out that I thought when it was down here on this wick, I said, it's one of the things I'm buying right now.
What's the market cap on TARS?
I want to say like 80, 90 million. Let me look, maybe over 100. Oh, sorry, I was way off. 200 million. Coin to coin market cap anyway. I don't know what I was thinking. I was confused with another project saying it was 80 million. But this is a project that I would expect to get into the billions, listed widely on exchanges, all those things. So, yeah.
Yeah. What about XRP? We got Molly here asking about XRP.
Yeah, and I don't really I don't hold XRP. I do hold a few, like, you don't call them legacy cryptos, like top 20 type coins. For that, I have ETC and BTC and ETH, obviously, and then Solana, Link, and Doge. And I think that's all I hold. That's from last cycle. That's in the top 20. I hold very few things in their second cycle, and the only ones that I do really are like the top 20 ones from last cycle. But hey, this looks pretty bull flaggish for XRP.
You're on TARS still.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. So let me go back here, see how, because XRP's got a long history. So it's above those highs. Is that that's not the all-time high. The all-time high was in 17. So let's see who it is. Okay, so this chart doesn't even go back that far. Let me see. I bet Bitfinex, if it's got a chart, it might go back because it's an old exchange. Maybe Coinbase. No, because it got delisted from Coinbase.
Yeah. Did they put it back on? They did, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah. So I think that's where it starts there, where it got put back on. Maybe Qcoin. And it only goes to 18. Anyway, I wanted to see how far the price history went back. But I mean, yeah, it looks like a bull flag. It looks like it'll probably do pretty well. I mean, structurally, but with a higher cap asset, the move off of it, is not as much gains as it would be. Some of these things, most of the things that I'm into. So if you want to take, say, a move from the bull flag. From there's two ways you can do it. You can do it from the low here, do it more conservatively, and say like the second leg, or you can do it from the breakout where it breaks out of that range. But let's just do it conservatively there. That is 11 whatever. The gain from current price would be 350%. That's why I'm saying, like, this looks like a long move, and not that 350% is nothing, but this same move on, say, like TARS AI, if I said this was a bull flag, and this isn't even as good of a bull flag, I bet the move will be more. Let's see if I'm right or not from that, and do the same thing for the low and from current price. Well, it's not even as much. But that isn't the best example. The bull flag was so much bigger for XRP. I mean, it does kind of show that it was only 250 to 350%, where the XRP bull flag was so much more. But and TARS AI, actually, it doesn't have a small market cap. We just look at it as 200 million. So it's one of the bigger cap ones that I got. But you get the point that when you got the bigger cap assets, you're not going to get as big of a gain off of them when they have these parabolic moves.
Yeah, the thing about XRP is that it's been strong. I think a lot of it is priced in terms of Gensler being out and all that stuff. It's at $145 billion market cap. I mean, could it get to like 500 maybe? I don't see it getting close to $1 trillion.
So I put a video out at the beginning of the bull market speculating that XRP, if a lot of financial adoption happened, that XRP could hit $1 trillion. Like that would be the extreme bullish case scenario if you had a lot of financial adoption. But they just came out with that stable coin, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's for like financial whatever transaction stuff. And I'm kind of like, well, wasn't that the purpose of XRP?
Yeah.
So, and I think some financial institution came out recently and said they were doing a lot of transactions on XRP or
Bank of America.
Yeah. And I don't know if that was a stable coin or what, but I kind of,
yeah, go ahead.
I just say I kind of looked at the stable coin as kind of like, well, a little bearish in a sense. I mean, it's good that it comes out. I'm sure it helped the price some, but that was kind of the purpose of XRP, I thought.
Even if it got to $1 trillion or close to $1 trillion, you're talking about a 5x, right? And I mean, just in crypto, a 5x is not, in a parabolic alt season, that's, as like your top kind of like, bull case scenario of 5x from here is not very appetizing to me.
Yeah, I would rather, I mean, maybe I'm greedy, but that's the reason I'm in crypto, for the bigger gains. So I'm looking for the, the things I think is gonna, the AI techs, TARS AI, these things I think can print big multiples.
Yeah. I do think there's a chance that Ripple, gets on the stock market. There's what's it called?
ETF?
No. I mean, like they go public as a company and there's a stock.
They could. There's a lot of money behind Ripple. A lot of people with big pockets fund it. And the ETF, Ripple also, after Solana, would probably be the next one in line for an ETF.
Yeah. So they'll still be around. They'll still be viable. I think there's still upside. I just don't think like there's as much upside. A lot of people have big expectations of big. I see big prices in some posts like $100 and things like that.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's too big. It's too big of a market cap.
Yeah. XRP community can be a little
bullish.
Yeah, like a little over bullish stuff.
Cookie, you familiar with Cookie?
Yeah, it's the AI agent project, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that will be on coin. Trading view looks like it is. Yeah, looks pretty good. I mean, but like these AI agent projects, like they go up like this. Like I'm not chasing them, but I think Cookie is one of the top ones. I'm not sure the market cap, but I know I think it's pretty high market cap. Like it's up there like Griffin and XI, BXT, however you say that. Yeah. Like those are likely winners. Like buying them now, you'll probably do pretty well in the bull market, assuming we get those kinds of gains. But I don't think it's like the best price. I don't want to chase pumps on coins like that personally. Yeah,
no, I agree. Tony Smith is always out here shilling his Jasmy, man. He loves Jasmy. ORAI, I like ORAI also. I think that's like 100 million. I think ORAI can do well. I like the idea of, not chasing AI agents, but getting into AI agent ecosystems. And that's kind of what, they're about. You saw Virtuals go to Virtuals at like $3 billion market cap. I think ORAI is I think it's at 100 million. And
yeah, I got it on my watch list here. It's one I've been buying since the bull market or the bear market.
I think I'm going to buy some. I know I got to buy some stuff for my father-in-law. He's throwing a big chunk of change at some alts, so I'm designing a portfolio for him this week, and I think I'm going to get him a bag of ORAI.
Yeah, I mean, you got this. It looks like an inverse head and shoulders here, but I think it's got a big inverse head and shoulders pattern if you zoom out, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. And I've looked at this before. The measure move is like really, really like high. we'll say like there. Yeah, that's why I had that line drawn there. I'd already looked at it before. 1,100%, over 1,100%. And for something with a market cap like that, to have a technical measure move that you can go off of, not just saying, oh, it's good fundamentally or whatever. I started buying ORAI in the bear market. It's not something I've bought, recently or anything like that. Before these other AI projects started to come out, ORAI was one that I thought could do well this cycle. So I got a pretty decent bag of it at lower prices in the bear market, and I just hold it and keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I traded it. I didn't hold it. Should have held it, but it's all good. Trying to see. I mean, that's something. And the thing is, like, people look at like a 160, 150, whatever $1 million market cap. If some of these AI ecosystems get up to $10 billion market cap, is not out of the question for some of these. You look at Virtual's already at $3 billion. Yeah. That's 100x off 100 million. 100 million to 10 billion is 100x. So, this is at 168. We'll see how high it goes. I do like it.
Yeah, at this point in the cycle, I would rather bet on that than bet on DGen AI that just came out yesterday on Radium at 100,000 market cap, for that to go to 10 million. Like, I mean, I certainly could, but I'm just saying at this point in the cycle, I would rather bet on the things with a little bit bigger cap, or not take as many chances or whatever.
Yeah, because bigger caps, winners will keep winning, right? And you can get 100x out of a big cap, right? I mean, if you bought, even Ponky, I think, is at like a $200,000 market cap. If it's a blue chip meme coin, it can go to 20 billion, right? You can get 100x out of Ponky potentially. So I think that a lot of times our minds are wrapped around we lower is better. Oftentimes we think lower is better, and we market cap chase, but winners will keep on winning, and you'll get big gains at this point in the cycle out of some things that you think are already at a high market cap. But when you look back in hindsight, at the end of this year, we have a parabolic alt season. These are good prices. It's like, buying Sandbox at 100 million when it went to 8 billion.
Yeah, I think there's a time for this. And like a year ago, a little over a year ago, then I was on Morales money all the time, looking at everything coming out new and making more moves like that. And I just, like I said, at this point in the cycle, I think that the market's kind of showed its hand on what they think the winners will be, and that it's just best to go with those. And maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Mary, and anyone who's interested, you should definitely, I encourage you to join, or the Telegram. Ron's Telegram is for the whole year of 2025. It's $400, less than $40 a month when you do the numbers. He does private streams in there, takes questions multiple times a week sometimes. Daily TA from a bunch of people, a lot of good analysis in there, giving you a little shill.
And if you join in January, we'll drop the price to $325 for the month of January. And I know it sounds like a lot, kind of, but we offer a lot more than groups that charge a lot more. It's not just me; it's other people. We got an ICT guy who's really good. He puts out like daily TA on lots of things, and we got NFT experts, and there's project founders in there, and other people that find good small caps, and we got a lot of stuff going on in there. So
yeah. And the thing is, like, if you get one good play out of something, and I learned from last cycle that being surrounded by people, good people, and moving with people, you need to do that, because I was seeing things pump last cycle, and by the time I got to them, they had already pumped, because they were already out. So it's good to your network. Your network is your net worth, sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's a good community in there too. People, it's a way to get out of the toxicity of Twitter, and you can have like conversations about crypto with people and not argue. People that are in the OMI and VV, there's a channel for that, just because a lot of our followers are into it, even though I'm not into it. And it's a safe space where you can talk openly about it, which you cannot do on Twitter.
Yeah. Here's Avalanche.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's forming a big inverse head and shoulders. just say the move played out from that. Let's see, you call it like that from there. And it'd be like somewhere like that. It's only 183% gain. And this is what I was talking about, like, you know, with the ORAI, that same kind of pattern, you know, would print a lot bigger gains. Avalanche has a bigger cap. I mean, there's less risk, most likely, with Avalanche. And I'll say out of the blockchains from last cycle, Avalanche I like better than others. I like Avalanche better than like ADA, obviously, and you know, BNB probably. I don't know. I don't know. That's just a personal preference thing. I think Avalanche is better than some of the other competitors.
Sui,
Is it better than Sui?
you like Sui better than Avalanche this cycle? From
Yeah,
here, this point.
Sui's not in this. Sui's in his first cycle though.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't, you know, can't compare that. Obviously, I think that Sui, you know, Say is one that I was kind of big on for its a blockchain for its first cycle. It's been a little underwhelming, but it doesn't look terrible or anything like that. So if you're looking for like a higher cap blockchain one, I think Say is one that is still at a good price that will print better than some of the dinosaur chains.
Yeah, I like Near as well. I think, you know, Near is AI centric, and so that narrative could also carry it up.
Yeah, that's the only thing about Near. I didn't like it, but because they market themselves as like the AI blockchain, they might do okay.
Yeah. MI says USDC is made of bonds, and bond massacres have happened in the past, so probably best to move to the bank rather than stable coins.
Well, so Tether, unless I'm incorrect about Tether's got a lot of bonds. USDC is back dollar for dollar, and Coinbase audits it. Well, according to them, audits it like once a month. They testify to Congress for that. But I mean, obviously, moving it to the bank in dollars is better than any stable coin. Even USDC could depeg, but then you're looking at, you know, the taxes and things like that. So that's a personal preference for everybody. When I say get used to holding USDC and USDT, that's just like a general rule of statement. Like once the bear market comes, you may want to think about what you're going to do with those things, but just to get used to holding those things in your wallet and not just having it all on altcoins and continue to revest it.
Yeah.
But Tether is definitely full of bonds and backed by real world assets and stuff. You know, I've said this before. They're like the 18th largest holder of U.S. bonds, like the U.S. debt. So that's one thing. One reason why I'm not as skeptical about it now is that they're one of the biggest bond holders of the U.S.
There's always been that fear that, like, you know, Tether will depeg.
Yeah, I mean, there's some concerns about it. It's not as big of a concern, I think, as it was. I trust it more than I did a couple years ago. I still think you're better in USDC than USDT. But, you know, that depeg briefly last bear market. USDC did. Now, it recovered extremely quickly, but it could depeg as well. I mean, there's no for sure. Yeah. But then you hold it in cash, and then the inflation happens, and the value of your cash goes down too. So like, there's no perfect answer sometimes for what to do with your money. Yeah,
and I think the tax thing is I think most important for some people, right? Is the fact that people like to keep their stuff in their wallets or whatever and just roll it back into Bitcoin after it bottoms, rather than cashing out, having that, you know, and then having to move back in.
Yeah, technically you're still liable for the taxes just on the sales. So like, you moving it to the bank technically doesn't have anything to do with the taxes. However, I know from experience and talking to CPAs and people in crypto and stuff like that, you know, it's so hard. I mean, the IRS, like, you're sitting on DEXs and non-KYC exchanges. They don't know. Like, you just have to be honest with reporting it with that. And it's really, once, if you move large sums to the bank, that's when you could get questioned about it and have to justify where the money came from. So
yeah, for sure. Em also says alts will top before Bitcoin this cycle, mainly since Bitcoin will hit more durable demand this time. You know, from my thinking is it's good to be open to every scenario, but until it's different, it's not different, right? And so we'll see. I kind of I'm just expecting kind of the cycle to play out as it has in the past, but I'm open to the idea that this time is slightly different. What are your thoughts on that?
I think as a total market cap, like if you look at like total 3 or some indicator like that, I think it'll probably line up more with like past cycles, but that there will be some alts and some maybe narratives and some sectors of alts that could definitely hit their all-time highs before BTC.
And that happened, I showed, where is it?
I think ADA did that last cycle. There's a few that, yeah.
You know what? Last cycle it was interesting because I tracked 100 coins from last cycle and 100 coins from the 2017 cycle to see, exactly when they topped, just to, as like a thought experiment, whatever. But this is the 2021 cycle. And a bunch of them topped before. So you see like 20%, more than 20% of the coins of the 100, Theta was a good one, topped before Bitcoin's first top.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it double topped last year. So a good 20% of tokens flow. This is NFT stuff, right? It flows in NFT blockchain. So it depends really on narrative. This is a Rally network, right? The Rally was what is that like? Kind of like a tokenization of like sports teams, like Chili's and things like that, right?
I'm not familiar with it. It's not ringing a bell. I mean, I know about Chili's, but
it's kind of like Chili's, yeah, where you could like tokenize like music artists and things like that. Then 23% topped out in May, and this is after the Bitcoin top came in, and they were kind of spread out. October, this is before the second top. Second top.
Just say Bitcoin, like the crypto market cap hits like $10 trillion, something like that. It is not going to be shoving it's not going to be $10 trillion anyway, not actual dollars, but it's not going to be all these assets hit their highs or 10 trillion like all at one time. Things are going to hit their highs at different times and money will rotate and into other whatevers, and so don't have it, it's not going to be like one day where everything hits the high and that's where you get out of the market completely with everything. Things are going to hit highs at different times for sure.
Yeah. And so that's important to think about also for that profit taking strategy. So, I do agree with M that but that's similar to also to 2021, but maybe on a bigger level this time.
And it depends on how ETH and Solana do, I think, as well, because as they go up and they hit their tops and the profits roll off into their ecosystems, that could be a big indicator as well when Solana and ETH hit their tops or targets.
Yeah, and that's interesting now also because the market is split into more ecosystems now than ever, especially now you got the SUI ecosystem developing in terms of like meme coins and things. The AI projects are developing on there.
Yeah, last cycle you had BNB kind of develop an ecosystem, but it's not as much as this cycle for sure, in my opinion. Not you actually have things happening and like on Solana and stuff.
Yeah, AI rig complex is Solana's version of Virtual's AI agent framework on Ethereum. Cookie is the chain link that AI agents use to parse the markets.
That sounds good. I don't think I'm familiar, or I may have it written down. I have a lot of AI agent coins that I've taken notes on as I see them or come across them because people ask me about them all the time. I'm not sure that's one that I have seen, but I don't see in these notes right here in front of me anyway. I got a few other places where I write them down at though.
Let's see. I don't see anyone talking about OMI and RCT. It's a top RWA token. OM. What's OM?
I think I heard of it. Is it this right here? This mantra. Token is one big blockchain. I mean, it's fairly big, 3.2 billion. Surprised I'm not more familiar with it. Ranked 38.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've heard of them, just not, there's a lot of projects out there. I can't keep up with all top 1,000 of them for sure.
There are so many, man. There's so many. And like, you think like you have we do a lot of research and we know about a lot of projects. And even still, there are so many that are out there that, can do really well. They will do really well that we've never even heard of. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And I've talked about a lot. I use Morales. It used to be called Morales Money. Now it's just called Morales. I use that a lot to find and look at and assess coins and projects. That's a good tool for anybody to use.
Yeah. We've been on here for over an hour and a half. I think now's a good time. I got to actually go to my brother's house to he needs to buy some crypto. He needs my help because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Maybe get lucky like with your cousin or nephew or somebody that got that free 20K of Rio.
Yeah, that didn't work out like that, man. So I think it's a glitch in Base Wallet where it still shows that he's got like $20,000 in Rio, but he went to sell and it wasn't letting him. It was only letting him sell like the value amount that he bought, even though it's showing that he's got like 20,000 tokens.
So it didn't actually come out. No,
yeah, didn't work out that way. But thanks for coming on. Another good chat. And for anyone, follow Ron on X. If you're interested in joining the Telegram, reach out to him or myself. It's a great space. A lot of great data in there and great information and great community. Any last words, Ron?
No, man, we said it all. We talked didn't even realize it was an hour and 37 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, thanks everyone coming through. Happy Sunday. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Right on.